Help was on the way. In Pusan to the south, more 24th Division troops and equipment were arriving by ship. Not enough. Not nearly enough. But it was a start. Generals Walton H. Walker and William Dean had a tough assignment. Undertake the work of several divisions with elements of only one.
One day I looked up and there they was. Man, if I said those fresh troops looked good, I'd be lying. They were beautiful. Not only just troops, but trucks, more heavy stuff, and tanks.
We met our first Red Armor 25 miles north of Tejon.
Before dawn, on 28 June, a convoy moves out of Camp Coleman near Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. After 7 months as a part of the Inter-American Police Force, the 320th Artillery, 82nd Airborne Division is going home. En route to Red Beach, its embarkation point, the convoy crosses the Duarte Bridge, which the rebels had barricaded during the height of the fighting. It passes shell-riddled buildings, mute reminders of the battles which had raged here only months ago. Then, a wait at the ocean's edge. On schedule, an LST, the Waldo County, arrives to take on this contingent of the 320th for return to Sunny Point, North Carolina. Other elements of the unit are returning by air. With the election of Juan Balaguer as President of the Dominican Republic, the Organization of American States has voted to disband the Inter-American Police Force. The 320th is the first unit to leave. The boarding begins. Each freshly painted vehicle moves into line in a carefully coordinated sequence, then is directed to its position within the LST. When the equipment is aboard, the troops move on to the ship and up to the deck, where they take places along the rail. As the LST prepares to leave, the men are thanked for their service by Brazilian General Alvaro Braha, Commander-in-Chief of the Inter-American Police Force. Then, the Waldo County gets underway on the 4-day trip back home. While the first convoy is moving out to sea, another section of the 320th arrives at San Isidro Airport. In brief ceremonies, Brigadier General Robert Linville, Commanding General, U.S. Forces, Dominican Republic, commends the troops. Then the men move to their waiting C-130s. Farewells are said as the planes are boarded. Equipment and luggage are loaded. For the 320th Airborne Artillery, it's goodbye, Dominican Republic, hello home. Another U.S. Army unit in the Dominican Republic prepares for departure. Tank Company C, a part of the American Brigade Inter-American Police Force, packs its equipment for the trip back to home base at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Company C arrived in the Dominican Republic in the fall of 1965 and helped in training programs related to infantry operations during the October riots. C Company tanks leave camp in Santo Domingo and head for the marshalling area at the beach for loading onto LSTs. In March of 1966, elements of this unit spent 5 weeks in Puerto Rico conducting gunnery exercises. The company also carried out demonstrations of its capabilities for Dominican military officials and members of the Inter-American Police Force. At Red Beach, a message of cheer for the departing unit as the LSTs come in to load up. In addition to tanks and personnel carriers, C Company has its own support trucks, trailers, jeeps, and a tracked vehicle recovery unit. Moving company equipment aboard the LSTs is a 2-day operation. Farewell ceremonies include a send-off by an Army band. On hand for the departure is Brigadier General Robert Linville, Commanding General of U.S. Forces in the Dominican Republic. The main body of troops goes by air, and the General participates in another departure ceremony at San Isidro Airport. Awards are given by General Linville for outstanding service in the Dominican crisis. A delegation of Inter-American Police Force representatives takes part in the farewells. Between their regular assignments, the men of Company C found time to engage in civic action projects in Santo Domingo. The unit supported a school for needy girls and was instrumental in obtaining donations for the project from U.S. civic organizations and religious groups. Now, for the men of the Armor Company, it's adios amigos, as the big C-130 transports take off for stateside. On 16 April, the USNS General John Pope dropped anchor off the harbor of Quinyon with more than 3,500 combat-ready Korean troops on board. The landing craft are soon filled with assigned boat teams, and the LCUs head for shore. The ROC troops, which arrived after a 6-day trip from Pusan, are part of the 26th Regimental Combat Team. They will be attached to the ROC Tiger Division, which has been serving in Vietnam since October 1965. On hand to greet the troops are Major General Stanley R. Larson, commander of Field Force Vietnam 1, and Major General Shea Myung Shin, commander of the ROC Tiger Division. The arrival of the 26th brings to approximately 25,000 the number of Koreans assigned to South Vietnam. In addition to the Tiger Division, this includes some 2,500 ROC engineers and the Korean Marine Blue Dragons. While the troops were still debarking, Admiral U.S.G. Sharp, Commander-in-Chief Pacific, and General William C. Westmoreland, Commander of U.S. Forces Vietnam, arrived to welcome them. Also present to greet the 26th, commanded by Colonel Won Sik Park, is the Korean ambassador to South Vietnam, Mr. Shin San-Cho. The ROC units will undergo 5 weeks of training nearby and will then move to their area of responsibility, Van Con Valley, some 20 kilometers northwest of Quinyon.
February 12, 1966. This is Cameron Bay, and I have the skipper of the BDL, Lieutenant Colonel Page. And would you tell us a bit about your mission here in Vietnam?
Yes, sir. We're here primarily for the discharge of the roll-on, roll-off type MSTS ships. We marry up stern to stern. In other words, we put the stern of our vessel to the stern of the Comet. They lower the ramp into our well deck and drive the vehicles on board. We in turn bring it to the beach and discharge it. And we have a secondary mission of carrying rolling stock and general cargo to the various ports in South Vietnam.
I noticed behind me, for example, that we have equipment belonging to the United States Air Force, which I would assume that you're not limited to just material by the United States Army, but part of your mission encompasses assistance of other services.
That is correct. As you know, the Army itself is responsible for beach operations, which covers all the services. And under the one manager concept, that is the Army's primary responsibility. And this equipment here is what they call Red Horse equipment. That is Air Force construction equipment. And a lot of it is very large and heavy, and this vessel is ideal for carrying it. And we are loading it here at Cam Ranh Bay, and we will take it down to Phan Rang, where they will assist in the construction of the airfield at Phan Rang.
At the mat-covered south beach of Cam Ranh Bay, the beach discharge lighter Lieutenant Colonel John Page is loading for a delivery run. An Air Force payloader brings a forkload of supplies aboard. The ship, with a crew of 8 warrant officers and 36 enlisted men, can carry 23,000 tons of cargo. A bulldozer is maneuvered into position for the trip by sea. Boards are placed under the heavy metal tracks to protect the deck and reduce slippage. Delivery of heavy supplies and equipment to shore points is greatly facilitated by these ships. On 7 March, an armored unit of the 25th Infantry Division arrives at the port of Saigon as U.S. Navy LST number 1158 moves slowly up channel. Deployed from Hawaii earlier, the unit's move is labeled Operation Moonlight. Due to lack of docking space, offloading is delayed until the following day, and personnel of the unit are sent ashore for the night. The short trip to the dock provides an interesting first view of Vietnam. The following morning, the LST lowers its ramp at the Vietnamese Navy base, and the long voyage from Hawaii is at an end. The men of the armored outfit board the vessel and begin offloading. The first vehicles to come down the ramp are 2.5-ton trucks. M48 tanks are next to appear. The unit brought these with them from Okinawa, where the organic equipment had been pre-shipped. The Okinawa stopover had taken less than a day. Armored personnel carriers are included in this shipment. The system of driving the fully serviced vehicles off the LST greatly speeds the unloading process, and the entire operation is completed in 30 minutes. Shortly thereafter, the convoy of armored vehicles is rolling through the streets of Saigon, heading for the 25th Division camp at Cu Chi. The column moves westward at a good clip and covers the 48 kilometers to Cu Chi without stopping. As the unit passes through the town of Cu Chi, the 25th Division camp is in sight. Operation Moonlight is completed, and the mobility and firepower of the Tropic Lightning Division has been greatly increased.